3, 1. Off we go.
Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great Saturday. Ours is a little cool today. Fall has come to the Maritimes. Trees are starting to change, so it will soon be falling leaves everywhere, and my husband will be totally stressed out. I don't forget how many bags of leaves he raked up last year, but it was something like 50. Hoping.
Well, that's what you get when you got a big oak in the backyard.
Yeah, true. Well, it's a little smaller now. Oh, goodness. We're going to have some fun today painting this Snowmen and Nutcrackers. Got off on one of my little tangents, and so now I've got 3 more of these little fellas. We're going to do this one with the snowmen, but I've got 2 more, one with peppermints and one with candy canes. I've been having way too much fun with this. Way too much fun with this. So we're going to be doing this little Snowmen and Nutcrackers piece today. But before we get started, I wanted to tell you about our giveaways today. We're going with a kindness theme for the next few lives. Next Saturday, we're going to be doing a cute little bumblebee piece. And we're doing some bee giveaways. So be kind, be happy giveaways. So we've got these great little... I call them creative pouches because you can store your art supplies in them or what have you. And we filled them up with a bunch of goodies. A nice little surface. There will be a pattern included with this. There's some buttons and pins and pens and even a stencil. So
It says be happy.
that one says be happy. So we've got some great fun stuff packed in here, including some brushes from Dynasty Brush and a whole bunch of other fun things. So we have 3 of those to give away today, and all you have to do to get your name on the wheel for those giveaways is join us in the chat, hit the like button, the share button, and all of the buttons, and come and join us in the chat, and we will put your name on the wheel, and maybe you'll get a shot at winning one of those giveaways. They're a lot of fun. We have more fun putting them together. So we've got some really cute little buttons and some fun stickers and a bunch of other stuff in there. So they are always fun to open. Everybody likes a little bit of happy mail once in a while. So aside from that, there's not much going on. My best bud has made her way back to BC, and I don't know if she's watching today or not. She's probably cutting me stuff. We brainstormed. Dangerous, very dangerous. But we had so much fun in the past week.
Where does Pinky and the Brain come from?
I don't know. Yeah.
No offense to either one of you.
No, Pinky and the Brain. That's not far off. But I do want to, before we get started, I want to say hi to a few people. There's Kathy Mayoletzi. I know I probably said that wrong, and I'm so sorry, but Kathy, hello. And Elsie Sturm from Calgary, Alberta, and Carol Colbert, hello. Marjorie Eaton, hello, sweetheart. And Christine Winson. There's a new name. Welcome, Christine. And Elizabeth Allard, I am feeling better.
Napa, Idaho.
Oh, my goodness. And Carrie Siebold. Judy Thacker, hello, Judy. And Lisa Morgan and Bobby Corey, hello, sweetheart. Oh my goodness, do I have the 3 little snowmen in stock? Yes, we do. We have the snowmen, we have everything. Everything. Gingers, snowflakes, candy canes. It'll take us a bit to get them up on the site, but we got them. What else? It was fun to follow Beth. The fun part was getting to where we were going and then getting home. We laughed a lot all the way down and laughed all the way home. And we did a great deal of laughing here too. So we had a great time. It was so much fun to spend time together. And there is Sue Potts. Sue Braun says Pinky and the Brain was all about world domination. Never achieved, but hilarious nonetheless. That's... There we go.
Somebody got it.
Somebody got it. Oh my God. And Denise Chavez, yes, we did have a wonderful trip. Wonderful visit with Deb. Gizmo. If you're wondering what that moaning is, it's Gizmo. Maze is sitting here very quietly. Gizmo's the one howling. And Tara Ellis, hello, sweetie. Good to have you with us. Oh, my stars. And there's Karen Jones. Hello, sweetie. I missed your call yesterday. I will call you back. I love you. So you can hear the cat. Yeah. Everybody and their dog can hear the cat. And Jane Burrows. When my granddaughter collects nutcrackers. Ah. Now they're meowing back at him. Okay. All right, you guys. If you are ready to paint our snowmen and nutcrackers. I forgot what I was doing there for a second.
It's okay.
It's oh, there's some good drugs out there somewhere for that.
I nearly lost a finger.
Watch the dog. Okay, Connie Gieslin. Hello from Ohio. Hello. And Linda Safranco. And I got to say hello to Mary Amos. Hello, sweetie. And Brenda Owen. Good heavens. All right, we're going to paint some snowmen and nutcrackers.
Beep.
Beep. This is the little guy.
Perfect. Yeah.
He's just nice and frosty. He's a little subdued, but I like him. He's got some nice cool colors, and I think he's fun. Not to mention that I had a great time with the Duraclear Galaxy varnish. I have way too much fun with this stuff. So our little snowmen are glitterified. The hat is glitterified. Everything has been glitterified. I just love this varnish. And because he was so frosty looking, I figured it needed some icicles. So this is just a fun little piece to paint. The Nutcracker is basically the same design. I've just altered a variety of things in mostly the color scheme. Sometimes it's the pattern, but it makes it much simpler to adapt if you stick to one uniform design. So I've made subtle changes, small changes, changes in the color palettes, changes in the patterns on the uniform, and it just creates a really fun series of little nutcrackers. And I love this little guy. I think he's so cute with the little snowman. He's just adorable. Oh, my stars. So this is the one we're going to do today, and he is quite easy to paint. Now, I've started with this 11 by 4 or 12 by 4 inch tall tag. I love this because you can, very versatile. You can use it for so many different things. Oh my goodness. I'm having a moment. So we're going to add snowflakes to the background on this one. And I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. Ooh, goodness. A little bit of warm white on here. Oh, my stars and garters. I swear to God, one of these days I'm just going to burst into flames. That's what it feels like anyway. So we're going to use this very overused snowflake stencil and a little bit of warm white. Now your brush should be almost dry. We don't want these fully opaque. Well, we don't need them to be fully opaque. This is just fun. And we're going to add snowflakes rather sporadically. Just keep in mind where our nutcracker is in all of this. My husband is redoing the garage floor, and therefore Maze cannot be in there. And she's not happy about it. There we go. So I'm just going to randomly, I'm using the smaller snowflakes just to keep this from getting too busy. I like the smaller snowflakes. And again, I like my brush to be almost dry. Just makes for nicer ones. We're going to distress this anyway. So I want to keep these fairly light. Just cuts down the amount of sanding we have to do. There we go. I like the teeny tiny snowflakes in this. I just think they keep things looking delicate. Yeah, no, there we go. So you don't have to take this all the way to the bottom if you don't want to. But I'm trying to keep the snowflakes mostly to the outside edge, simply because, well, our nutcracker is going to take up most of the space in the center. So just to create a little pattern. There we go. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Heaven forbid anything should be perfect. There we go. Now that I've got snowflakes everywhere, I want to add a little bit of the little polka dots. I like those. Just randomly to fill in some of that negative space. So they don't have to be perfect. You can just pick or choose where you're going to put them. And it just takes care of some of that negative space. There we go. Just kind of looks like, you know, smaller snowflakes, but I like how it fills things in. So that background color, I should have told you that. The background color is deep midnight blue. So we're using deep midnight blue to put on that background. And then we're using warm white. If you don't have warm white, you can use sand gray. Sand gray is a nice tone too. And they're such fun to paint. These are just a blast to paint. So we're going to dry this. Easy peasy. Maze is going to report us for mistreatment. Yes. Hype. Hype is a new thing on YouTube. It just helps promote the creator. That's essentially it. So if you're going to hype, go ahead, hype me. I would appreciate it. Just helps the creator a little bit. So I'm going to take my sanding sponge and I'm going to make sure that's dry. And we're going to give this a light sanding. I just want to soften and distress those larger snowflakes a little. I just like wearing through them a little bit. There we go. It doesn't take much. So we're going to take the dust off. Ooh, love that. And then I like to take a little bit of water on a shop towel or a soft cloth and wipe off any extra dust that's still there. So we've got a nice soft and smooth. I'm not sure how you hype. I'm not sure how that works. I don't see the same chat thing that you do. So I'm going to dry that real quick. I just love how soft they are, but they're not harsh. Oh, you're welcome, Denise. I just think that that's such an easy tip to make eyes on anything is to use that shape maker or those small circles. It just works so much better. Hello, Patrick. I'm not sure how hyping works. All I know is what I read this morning about it. So we're going to add a shadow all the way around the outside edge of this with a little bit of Prussian blue. And I'm going to use my big angled shader for this. Here we are. Now we're going to put a sloppy float all the way around the outside edge. That means lots of water, a little bit of paint. And by sloppy means that that shadow does not have to be perfect. Just getting a little color around the outside edge and into those corners. And there's Elaine Ann. Hello, Elaine. Good to have you with us. From the UK. Oh my goodness. Hyping is a way to help support creators on YouTube. So you can hype us, and it helps move us up the list of popular videos. And only certain creators have that ability, those with less than a certain number of subscribers. So it just helps us, helps it increase our visibility and helps increase our ability to earn. So there we go. Nice little float of asphaltum. Not asphaltum, Prussian blue. Good heavens. Way ahead of myself today. Sharon Wolf. Hello, sweetie. La, 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 la. So I'm going to dry that really well because we're going to put a float of asphaltum over top of it to tone it. So I'm going to bring this up. You see how subtle that transition is? It's still darker at the outside edge, but it's into these corners, but it isn't a hard line. So I'm going to rinse my brush out really well. And then we're going to take a little asphaltum. Yeah, I got to figure out how it all works. It may not be connected yet. So I'm going to put a float of asphaltum all the way around the outside edge, right over top of that Prussian blue. All it's going to do is just tone this a little bit. It might be on the replay. I'm not sure. Like I said, I just got the notification this morning and haven't had a chance to figure it out yet. What's for dinner tonight? Tonight we are having chicken parm. So I'm going to do a little bit of lemon orzo with chicken parm. I love lemon orzo. Oh, yummy. It's a Greek dish. I just like it as a side, and then I make my chicken parm. Do it on the grill, and then it's just covered with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and a mix of mayonnaise. And you do it on the grill, it comes up nice and crispy on the outside. It's delicious, and it stays nice and moist. Oh, chicken Florentine is wonderful. Well, I think there's far fewer of us than there used to be. There we go. Okay, so I've got asphaltum all the way around the outside. La 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 la. Give this a good dry. Will there be paper pattern? Yes, there will. We'll get those up later today. I took a little time off this past week to spend with my bud. And so I was a little late getting back into the studio. And let's face it, when Deb and I are together, we don't really accomplish that much because we're having too much fun. So, who did I see? I saw a question there. Hi, Carol Vanderpool and Tamara. Hi, everybody. And Cheryl. Yeah, I love lemon orzo. So tasty. And tomorrow I'm canning. I have some canning to do. I picked about 12 quarts of tomatoes this morning. And I also have to go and harvest the rest of my basil because it's getting cold and I don't want to lose what's left. So it's getting cold at night. There we go. So I just brushed a coat of heavily thinned asphaltum over top of everything. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, it was so fun to spend time together. We went, Dominic and I took her over to Grand Manan, so we went on the ferry. It's about an hour and a half ride on the ferry across. And then we toured Grand Manan and went sea glass hunting on the beach. Hi, Kim. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, some health issues and border issues are keeping me from going. I'm sad to say, but mainly the health issues. But yeah, no, it's all good. Things will get better. That's the way I look at it. So there is your background. It's all ready to go. From this point, you just trace your line drawing on and then begin base coating. So it's a simple background. It works exceptionally well for a variety of things. Those lobster rolls were to die for, I have to tell you. Did we find some sea glass? Yes, we did. Not a lot. In tourist season, there's usually a lot picked over, but yes, we did find some. It was lovely. I have quite a collection of sea glass, actually, because I habitually walk the beaches when we're on the island. I love it over there. The people are wonderful. The beaches are wonderful. Everything about it. Exactly, Patrick. You know, we solved all the problems of the world. All those things. All right, so we've gotten to this point. Dum-da-da-da. Look at that. I took the time last night to base coat ahead of time so you guys don't have to listen to me prattle on while I'm trying to base coat something. So the base colors for this piece are, for the face, we're using cotton candy. For the uniform, the arms and the legs, we're using Williamsburg blue. For the epaulets, these shoulder pieces, and the trim on the coat, we're using baby duck. And for the boots, the belt, and the hat, we are using lamp black. So we're going to start with the body here. We have a base coat of warm white, and we're going to shade it with a little bit of Bahama blue. Trying to find my other color. There it is. Da, 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 da. Now I need an angled shade up. A 3/8 angled shader. Where's my 3/8? There it is. Nope. Good heavens. This is ridiculous. I can't find my... There it is. Okay. Trying to find the proper brush. So I'm using a 3/8 Dynasty Faux Squirrel Angle Shader. I love these. They're just, Faux Squirrel I think is still my favorite brush. So we're going to use a little bit of thinned Bahama Blue is the first shading. And we're going to use that up underneath the epaulets, under the beard, along the trim, like so. Going to leave nice little float around the outside edge of each of the segments of the coat or the jacket of the uniform. What can I use in place of Williamsburg blue? Uniform blue will work very nicely. You just need something with a slight gray undertone. If you don't have the uniform, the Williamsburg blue, uniform blue will work just fine. It's a little bit lighter, but it will work just fine. The color difference will be negligible when it's all finished anyway. So, how many nutcrackers do I plan to do? Well, I've got 6, total of 6. And then I think I have to stop for a little bit and paint something else. Otherwise, you guys will be painting nutcrackers from now until next Christmas. So, and it will get a little mundane, don't you think? So, no. So I've got 6. There's this one. I did one with the peppermints and then one with candy canes that I think you'll like. I don't know. They're just fun. But you know me. I can't do anything, just one of something. I have to, the series thing works for me. So there we are. There's something about Bahama Blue. It just cools off this white nicely. Gives it nice depth too. There we go. Purdy. You never have too many nutcrackers. According to my husband, you can. My daughter and I started collecting them when she was very little. I think she was 3 or 4 years old. And we've added 1 or 2 or 3 every year ever since. So, needless to say, we have quite a few. I'm thinking it's probably like 150, somewhere around there. Maybe more. Yes, variety is nice. I have to agree, Debbie. Yes, that's true. We have a whole lot of nuts. How about expanding to Halloween or fall nutcrackers? Oof, I like the idea of Halloween and fall. I love anything from the fall. I love fall. It's my favorite season. Okay, so I've got that first float of Bahama Blue in there. Now I'm going to deepen it with a rather unexpected color. I'm going to use a color called Stormy. I've really quite fallen in love with this color. I don't usually do blues. Blues are, oh, you need a nutcracker on a phone stand. That's a good idea. And this Stormy color is unique. It has a gray tone and a brighter blue. It's a really pretty blue. And it makes an awesome toning color for our piece here. So I'm going to go over all of that Bahama Blue with a float of Stormy. And that Bahama Blue keeps it from being too gray, I think, is the term I would use. But it's a very nice toning color for that blue. Keeps this white looking very nice. It brings that cool, crisp thing to this. I like that it's very blue. Almost has a little purple to it, almost. Makes for some really nice shadings on this. There we are. And we're going to do the same thing to the bottom half of the jacket. A zombie nutcracker? Oh my goodness. I am going to have a zombie bunny. Now, Deb and I brainstormed, and good things happen, bad things happen, you know. Okay, so a little bit of that. Look at that. I love how that tones that. So nice. A zombie one would be fun. Hi, Phyllis. So then in that body, once that's completely dry, you're going to tone this at the end with a little bit of asphaltum. I don't know what it is about asphaltum. I just love the look that it gives all of these blues. When you put a float of it over top, it just does something. Does wonderful things for blues. Keeps them from looking too icy, I think, but still lets them give you that winter vibe, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Love this color. Asphaltum is ridiculously versatile for so many things. So we've got a nice little bit of asphaltum. So it kind of softened and grayed out our jacket, but now we need to brighten it, bring up that brightness again. So we're going to use a little bit of a color that I don't use often. We're going to use a little bit of titanium white. So I'm taking one of my smallest stencil brushes and a little bit of titanium white, and we're going to dry brush the center of this like so. Just gives the center of this a nice softness and helps mute things a little bit. So it gives that a nice softness. So we've got a nice bright highlight in the center of this. So don't be afraid to really brighten it in the center. Just like that. These little stencil brushes are great for this. There we are. I love that. It's soft. Gives it a nice frosted look too. And then while I've got this brush out and it's loaded, I'm going to dry brush the center of the hat like this. I just want to put a dry bit right in the middle of the hat and then a little brighter towards the center. just like that. And this is where our snowflake is going to go. And then I'm going to come down to these boots. And we're going to put a highlight down this towards the left, but not all the way to the left of each boot. Just like that. And then a half circle on the toe of the boot. Like that. And don't forget across the center on that top piece. Just gives our boot a little highlight. And then you're going to brighten the center of that just a little. Easy peasy. There we go. I love that these little dry brushes just make things work. So I've got one coat of baby duck on there. I think I'm going to use the second one just to clean up a few edges and whatnot. I'm going to use a rigger to do this. So a little bit of baby duck just to clean up edges and make this look a little more opaque. It wasn't quite solid enough. There we are. Just sharpens the edges of those things. Marjorie, I've got 6 of those nutcrackers. Or these. We've got the gingerbread, we've got the snowflakes, we've got the, where's the other one? Gingerbread, snowflakes, stars. And then we've got this little guy with the snowman, and then we have 2 more. Then you have the candy canes and the peppermints. I just think it's a fun series. They're super easy to paint. I very rarely use 2 coats of anything, but in this case, this yellow over top of that dark blue is just a little wanting. So I'm going to give it a little extra love here. And it just cleans up a few little issues. There we are. There we go. Yeah, oh, they're not up on the website yet, but they will be. We just got them, so we'll get them up there this afternoon. So, I think he's looking pretty good. Now, he has a belt. And I like to paint that last because it gives me a chance to clean up any little rough edges. So, a little bit of lamp black for the belt. I always have so much fun coming up with these things. There we go. Almost done. There we go. We have the candy canes already have the lines and everything on them, so you don't have to knock yourself out trying to do that. And we did the same thing with the peppermints, so that peppermints are all already segmented so they don't drive you nuts. There we go. There's our belt buckle. He is looking rather dapper, isn't he? Trying to keep my space reasonably clear. And then we do need to put a belt buckle on this little guy right here. So I'm going to just a nice little square. There we go. The belt buckle is one of those things that seems to get a little bit bigger each time you paint it. There's Patsy Justice. Hello. And Janet Demon. Hello, Janet. Okay. Is he not cute? I just think he's so cute. Make sure he's good and dry. So I have a little bit of warm white. I'm going to paint the ball at the top of his hat with a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to paint his beard. Now when you do the beard, bring it out a little so that it exceeds past the edge, just so that you get a nice crisp line there. And that way, if you have any little bobbles, wobbles, and bobbles, it covers them up. Now this little guy has teeth, which for most people it just looks kind of creepy, all these teeth in it. So there's something weird about the grin of a nutcracker. So this is what I like doing. I like to leave that open and then just paint the teeth like this. Just put in the bars like so, bars of white. It's all good. And we'll let that dry a little bit. A pink nutcracker. A pink nutcracker. I was actually thinking of doing a pink one. You get the sheets or PDF. This one is a zero rigger. I'm not really doing any of the details with it yet, but I'm going to make sure it's good and dry. Now we're going to work on his face a little bit. Now I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. I'm going to thin it quite a bit. You don't want this full strength, otherwise his face just ends up looking dirty. So we're going to put a nice float around the outside edge of his face, like so. Find my mop. There it is. And I want to keep this one fairly soft. And I'm going to float the other side as well. Keep the darkest value to the outside edge of the face. Like so. And then we're going to do the same thing right underneath the brim of the hat. There we go. Got a little spot there that's a little darker than it needs to be. So I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to, how do I keep my floats from looking fuzzy? I let it sit for just a second and then give it a tap, very light tap with the mop. And remember, I'm not using water, I'm using a glaze mix. So we're going to use a dry brush and a little bit of country red. And we're going to give him some nice rosy cheeks. Little dry brush just to give him some nice cheeks. Like that. Now on the line drawing, oh, we got a whoopsie there. On the line drawing, it's formed as a circle. It's just for placement. I don't like to make rosy cheeks too solid, if you know what I mean. And I didn't want them so harsh, so nice rosy cheek. Just like that. Now, I know I have a shape maker here somewhere. Here's my shape maker. Now, when you're tracing on eyeballs, I'll have my line drawing here. So I'd put that on. I like to use a circle maker to go around the eyes, just to, when I'm tracing. And that way you get these really nice, crisp, round eyes. But I want to be about a 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go with a bigger eyeball, I think. About a 1/4 of an inch away from both the hat and the side of the face. And then I'm going to use a stencil brush. Where's my stencil brush? I think I have a small one here somewhere. There we go. I'm going to use a little bit of, oh, that's not going to work. Trying to find a clean stencil brush. Good luck with that. I'm going to take a little bit of lamp black. And I want to get him above. There we go.
Right by your foot, eh?
Yeah, gotta be. And we're going to let that dry.
Give him an eye patch. Make him a pirate.
Make him a pirate? No, I'm not going to make him a pirate. What brush did I use for his cheeks? I used a domed blender to do that. So I've got a nice round eyeball. And again, I want to be about a 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And I think I messed that up. Yeah, it's okay. They're a little out of whack. And then I'm going to use a liner brush. So his eyes are a little uneven. I think we're all a little asymmetrical anyway, aren't we? So we're just going to use a liner to put that edge of the eye on. I am just not... You ever have a day where you can't do anything without messing it up? Well, that's me today. I have some... There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. Honest to Pete. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white to put a little highlight on those cheeks. Just a little dot. You need it. And I'm going to dry those eyes. Because God forbid he should look cross-eyed, but perfectly imperfect. Absolutely. A pirate would be fun. I agree. Yeah. I have a knack. Yeah, he's a little quirky looking, this one. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So we're going to take that 3/8 angled shader and a little bit of warm white, and we're going to put a float just in from the edge of that eye, like so. And that float's going to be on the same, to the left side of the eyeball, whoops, on each of them. Comme ça. And then I'm going to use that liner brush to put a highlight on the upper left of that float, right there. His eyeballs aren't straight, but they're so cute. And then he needs eyebrows. Good Lord. So a small comma stroke right above the eye. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. This fellow's looking a bit like he's been dropped on his head, but that's okay. Carrie, have a great weekend. What stencil am I using for the eye? I'm just using a shape maker. You can use a variety of templates to do that. This one is a stencil. You can get this type of shape maker. There's a huge variety of them. These are available in any office supply place. I love them. My favorites are these, the Staedtler ones. I love these. They work so well. And I have dozens of them in all sorts of shapes. So, because I like them. So, yeah, his eyeballs are a little wonky, but he's okay. Wonky's not a bad thing. So I'm going to use my chalk pencil to give him a nose. Only the nose. And it's just a simple triangle. And then immediately under the nose, we're going to give him a mustache. Just like that. Easy peasy. Now, of course, you can use the line drawing to put those details in. I like using my chalk pencil. So I'm going to take a little bit of that asphaltum again, and I've got that triangular bit for the nose. I'm going to put a nice little float of asphaltum to the right of the nose and then under the nose above that mustache. Right there. So there is our nice little shadow for our nose. And then I'm going to take a little of that titanium white And on the opposite side of that nose, I'm just going to put a little float, little highlight like that. So there's his nose. Now we'll use that rigger and some warm white. We're going to paint in his mustache. Easy peasy. I think I like the quirks in these guys almost as much as I love painting them. I like the fact that you can get such quirky, more character out of them when you change something. Just think it's fun. So the one I'm using right now is a 0 rigger. And I like his mustache to have that little curlicue at the end. Just lands on that rosy cheek. There we go. So look at that. He's got a great face. So while we're using that warm white, we're going to come in here and we're going to put in his hair. Easy peasy. I love that the hair has, you know, it's not perfect. And I like all of this, the cooler colors, the cooler palette in this appeals to me in a lot of ways. What? Oh my goodness. The cooler palette in this, I wanted something a little traditional but not very traditional, and I wanted a you know, more, maybe call it a more contemporary color palette for this little guy. And I thought it was suitable because he's meant to look cool and cold because of the little snowmen. Okay, so I've got that hair in. And it's, yeah. Oh, Lori, you're too cute. Hi, Jill. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to take care of it. Yes, right now his teeth are chattering. Yes, they are. Look how fun this is, though. So we're going to add the stripes to our little fellow here. I think the stripes are muy importante for this little guy. But I'm going to use my chalk bits. Put this in. One. I like the diagonal stripes on this guy. Oops, daisy. Oops, daisy. Good heavens. I'm not doing well with the diagonal thing today. They're not straight. I'm having a day. It's okay. Everybody's entitled to one. So I'm going to fill in every other stripe with warm white. 1 or 2 coats should be enough to fill this in. And again, I like the cooler palette on this one. And it's unusual for me. I tend not to gravitate towards cool colors. My favorite colors are always warmer tones. Hi, Rosie. It's so nice to see everybody here. It's been quiet through the summer. We've had a little less people watching through the summer, which is totally understandable. Everybody wants to spend time with their families and in their gardens. There's only so many hours in the day, and needs must. So I spent about an hour this morning doing some garden related things. So I picked tomatoes. I picked Roma's heirloom tomatoes and beefsteak. And I've got quite a pile, so tomorrow I have to can. Otherwise I'm going to start having tomatoes going bad. I've got so many, and I have green tomatoes that I have yet to process too, so I've got to get that ready. And this morning I roasted about 12 pounds of beets. So I will peel those this afternoon and make pickles. It's been a rather productive summer as far as the garden is concerned. So I really like this. I think that this is just a fun piece to do. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. I like the fact that there's flaws. And this is just a fun paint. There's lots of fun little details in this guy, but not so many that he is a challenge. This year, what did I put in this year? I did 4 types of tomatoes. I did beefsteak, heirloom, I did 2 heirloom, and then cherry tomatoes. I've got a ton of those too. I think I have 4 quarts of those. And what else? We did green and yellow beans. I did Swiss chard. I'm still getting Swiss chard. I love Swiss chard. And beets and lettuce. And we did pretty well with the lettuce. It wasn't a great year for lettuce, but we did pretty well with it. Plenty of salads through the summer, which was nice. I haven't picked all of my beets yet, but holy mother of Moses, do I have beets. And lots of beet greens. I love beet greens. And yeah, green tomatoes I have a bunch of. I did very well. Oh, and zucchini. Lots of zucchini. Have lots of zucchini. Still zucchini coming up, so I pickled most of what I got out of that. Beet greens. We're going to be eating beet greens for the next week or so because there's a lot of them. But I'm pickling the beets. There we go. Have I thought about doing a cooking class? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Maybe that's what we'll do some Saturdays. Just film right in the kitchen. Zucchini bread. I made pickled zucchini and pineapple zucchini and zucchini relish. I have some of that as well. Isn't he cute? I think he's so cute. So we're going to shade our sleeves and legs the same way we shaded the body. So we're going to start with a little bit of Bahama blue. We're going to thin it out a little. And we're going to shade, I'm going to turn him upside down. So the right side is going to get the shadow. Nice little float of Bahama blue. And you're going to take it right over top of that dark blue and the white. It's just going to give, it is a shading, but it looks like a highlight. So nice wide one, about 1/3 of the width of the arm or leg. And then you're going to make the one on the inside just a little narrower, like so. It's the tone we need. So from there, we're going to rinse the brush out and pick up a little bit of that Stormy. Love this color. And we're going to shade over top of that Bahama blue with the Stormy. I love what this does for this. Stormy is such a great shading color for blues and grays. It's just wonderful. I can't use Jell-O flavoring. I'm violent. Discovered this just recently. I'm also allergic to Tang. My mother had an old recipe that used Tang. It was from the 60s that used Tang for flavoring icing. And I made some and put it on the cake. And while I was icing the cake, I just happened to read the label. And yeah, not a good thing for me to eat. I don't do well with anything with an orange color. Any processed food with orange colorant in it, I can't use. So, no more Kraft slices, no more Cheese Whiz, no more, there's a whole list of things I can't eat. So I don't use anything like Jell-O or anything like that because there's colorant in it that I'm allergic to. Learned the hard way. Well, Tang is still available in Canada and the U.S. or in Canada, but I cannot use it. I'm violently allergic. So yeah, I made this fancy icing using this old recipe, and turned out I couldn't have any of the cake because I can't eat the icing. There we go. Look at that. So we've got this nice little shading going. I'm going to deepen it along the cuff, like so. And then we've got that ball up top. It's going to get the same treatment as well. So I'm going to float it with a little Bahama blue. And then I'm going to deepen it with a little Stormy. Love it. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, I discovered the hard way that I am allergic to some really neat things like flavored potato chips, cheesies, Cheetos, nachos, certain brands of salsa. Can't eat queso. Can't eat. There's a whole list of things. Now, a lot of this stuff is, I'll never miss, but it's kind of frightening when you think that so many of those foods that everybody eats on the regular, you might eat on a plane and not realize that it contains something that you're allergic to. Zucchini, so that's what I made with sweet pickle relish. It's so good. Tang pie. That's interesting. Yeah, so I have issues with a preservative too. Mainly in things like scented candles and air fresheners, things like that. I can't use them. There's a certain preservative they use to keep the oil that I can't touch. So hair and beard, because we're working with the same color palette, we're using a little of that Bahama blue to shade the hair. And we're going to shade around under the mouth, like so, with that Bahama blue. And we're going to shade the mustache with it as well. Oh, I know. Like I said, Kathy, I found out the hard way that I'm allergic to those things. Have never had an issue before. And then all of a sudden, I'm violently allergic, so. Okay. My immune system just overreacts. Okay. So, I'm going to add a float of that Stormy to the mustache and to the hair, just like so, and to the beard, because we want to have him all in that same tone. I just realized I forgot the other side of his hair here. There we go. Cha-cha-cha. There we go. Oh, that's a great idea, Sue. So once you have all of that floated and you've got that Stormy, you've got your Bahama blue in, we're going to go in with a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. This is just what tones everything, just like the coat. Put a float of heavily thinned asphaltum right over top of all of those blues, like so. And the hair. Brings him in line. Oh, he's looking great. A little cockeyed, but he's looking great. Have an excellent weekend, Marjorie. Take care of yourself. Okay, so now that we've got all of that hair done, where's our liner brush? I have one here somewhere. There it is. So we're going to take a little bit of thinned titanium white, and we're going to add some lovely little strokes to our mustache, like so. Just going to brighten our mustache quite nicely and make it look a little fluffy. Just like that. You're not going to cover the whole mustache, but those little strokes over top of all that color just give the mustache a little depth. Like so. See how fluffy his mustache looks? We're going to do the same thing to the beard as well. And this is your opportunity to make his beard look a little fluffy. Just go over, give him a little bit at the edges too. Just like that. Nice layering of the different whites over top. Just give the beard a nice texture. I wish it showed up better on camera. It doesn't. I get too close to the camera and it doesn't want to. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing to the hair. What I like about this is being able to bring it out past the edge of the hair. It just gives it a fluffier, softer look. Just like that. So you can make it curly, you can make it whatever. But I like that sort of fluffier appearance. A dozen egg whites to make a chiffon cake. Yep. I have a recipe for angel food that's like that. It uses like 12 or 13 eggs. A baker's dozen, it says. You need 12 for the cake and 1 for the icing. Hi, Deb. Driving back from you. Oh, wow. You've had a busy weekend, my girl. Wedding, visiting the kids. Last weekend you were at a organ thing. There we go. Nice little flicks and fluff. I like the fluff on the mustache. Just makes our mustache look a little bit better. I like the fluffs. There we are. Excellent. So we're going to use a dry brush of titanium white, on a stencil brush, small stencil brush. I mean, you can use whatever dry brush you like, personally. But I'm going to use one of these small stencil brushes for this. And we're going to, oops, still a little too much. There we go. On the legs, we're going to put a dry brush like so. Right through the white, right through the, there we are. And we're going to do the same thing to the arms. Just like that. And it's not going to be dead center. It's going to be just to the left. We want to make this look a little glossy. There we are. Remember what we did in the center here? We wanted to brighten that. If it's not bright, you can brighten it some more. And then we're going to take our liner brush and some thinned titanium white. And we're going to put a highlight right through, just to the left. And go through everything. And it gives that nice slick look. Some fun. Now we have the sleeves down here. And you can use one or two, but we need cuffs to the outside. Put the buttons on the cuff. You can use one or two. I'm just using a little bit of lamp black. Bonnie, my daughter's name is Dominique. Dominique Claire. Now, I'm going to take my dry brush and I'm going to put another dry brush in the center of that belt, like that. And in the center there. He's coming together quite nicely. And we're going to use a little stroke of white on the boot. Little stroke of white for the highlight on the boots. Little one in the center of the buckle. Now, where's my rigger? I'm going to grab a little bit of that same color that we used for the face. We're going to use a little bit of cotton candy for the hands, which is just this bit here. These circular bits. There we are. I just think this little guy is so cute. Nutcrackers are just fun to paint. You can play with them quite a bit. Carol, my daughter's name is spelled D-O-M-I-N-I-Q-U-E. Dominique. I'm going to dry that. Now, just like the face, we shaded the face with a little bit of thin dash fault, and we're going to do the same thing with the hands. And the shadow's going to go on this side, like so. And then we're going to use a highlight, a little bit of warm white or titanium white, either one, it doesn't matter. Little highlight on the opposite side, like so, just to give him a nice little round look. All those little details make such a difference, so I'm going to put a little dot of white on each of those buttons. Like so. And then we have to do a little shading. I'm going to take a little of that oh goodness, too much water in my brush. A little bit of that Stormy, and I'm going to deepen that shadow underneath the jacket. Not quite as dark as I'd like it. Do the same thing up top here. There. Need a little more depth in there. There we go. I will usually come in and deepen shadows a little bit. I'm just going to go over this with a little asphaltum. And I need to do that along the cuff as well. Just to deepen it a little. That's better. Now, his coat needs some yellow buttons. So I'm going to use the handle of my brush and put in 3 buttons on each side. Just like so. Because our next thing to finish off is all of that gold trim. He's going to look more gold by the time we're done. So we'll make sure he's good and dry. So I'm going to set him aside for a moment and let those dots dry really well. And then we're going to tackle these little fellas. These are our little snowmen. They're just so stinking cute. So I've base coated these with a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to use a little bit of Bahama blue. And we're going to put a float to give him a nice round head. Like so. And that float along his middle as well. Whoops. These are piddly little things to paint, but they're cute. So the shadow is all on the right side. Probably be easier if I did it this way. Oh yes, much easier. So nice little float to the right side so that we get this nice shape. Just gives him a little more depth. And I'm going to dry that real quick. Yes, the surface set includes the 3 snowmen and the snowflake. And the little stand that goes on the back. So it has everything in it. Everything you see on this, plus there's a little stand that goes on the back. Like that. So we're going to deepen the shading on our little snowman with a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. And it just gives him a little more depth and a little more shape. thin asphaltum. Just like the tone it gives our little snowman. There we go. These little guys are so stinking cute. Look at that. 3 little snowmen. We will have that. We do have the snowmen separate, but they'll be up on the website this afternoon. We just have not had time to get them up there. Okay, so I'm going to dry these little guys really well. Like, how cute is he? So, a little bit of titanium white. We're just going to put a little brightness on the opposite side here. It's just a little. It's not a harsh highlight, but it's a little highlight. It just keeps him looking bright. You're welcome, Debbie. So I'm going to dry that one real quick, and we're going to add some cute little details to this guy. And they are little details. So I'm going to find my rigger. And we need a little bit of orange flame. I always try to carry colors around so you don't end up with like 30 colors and one of them you only use once. That drives me nuts. So I'm going to put a little carrot on his face. Doesn't have to be perfect, but he needs a carrot. So roughly the center of the head. And then bring it out to a point. It can point up, it can point down. Whatever you decide. And then we're going to use a little bit of lamp black to give him 2 eyeballs. One there, one there. They don't have to be perfectly round. And then we're going to do 1, 2, 3 little dots for his buttons. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Super simple. We are not going crazy with this little guy. I'm going to bring him all the way up. Look how cute. Super simple. And then we have a little country red. So we're just going to put in like a little string scarf. Like that. And you can do this any way you like. If you prefer to have it the other way, that's fine. I just like the little string scarf. Keep it simple. Easy peasy. And this is where I grab my liner brush. I'm going to use the liner and some thin asphaltum. And we're just going to put in a little arm. Just a thin little thing. Just paint in a little stick. Doesn't have to be much. Just like that. It's a little stick. Just to give him an arm. And then I'm going to dry him really well. These 3 little guys. Now I used a pen to add a few little stitch lines. The surface kit, or the surface set, I should say, comes with all 3 of the little snowmen, the snowflake for the hat, and the little stand that goes on the back of the tag. So you'll have everything you need to finish him. So I've got a little liner brush. I'm going to put in a little dot on the eyeballs, just a little one. Just to make those teeny tiny little details on a surface this small, it's not easy. And they have the surface, yes, they're available on my website. The pattern and the surface set is available. So look at that. Too cute. Now I kind of like these little guys to look like they're handmade. So I used my pen just to put in some little dip dots. Well, not dip dots, just like a little stitch line around one side, like so. There we go. Now you could detail these guys any way you want to. If you wanted to put pockets on, or a little wreath, or holly leaves, or whatever, you can have a blast, knock yourself out. So I'm going to dry that really well, and then I'm going to use my favorite. I love these. Yeah, Deborah, my website is tracymoreau.net. So a little bit, I love this stuff. I'm going to use a little bit. Let me show you how I varnish them. Instead of brushing this on, I just dab it like so. I find that it leaves the glitter, so they're a little textured. So a little bit of that Duraclear varnish, and it's just tapped on so that it keeps as much of the glitter as possible. Because I like glitter. I think these little snowmen should have glitter. And sprinkled glitter might be a little much. Tell me they're not the cutest things. So there's your little snowman. Yes, it is an E-pattern, Libby. I will have the print version up shortly. If you prefer a printed version, they will be up shortly. So I'm going to put our little snowman over here to dry. We're going to do the snowflake. We're going to use just a little bit of warm white. And I'm just going to, I like dabbing it on because I think it retains a little texture. It just makes them more interesting. There we go. And I'm going to set that one aside to dry too. The bottle of varnish, I sure can. It's Duraclear. This is by Deckwart. Galaxy Varnish. I love this stuff. It comes, you can get it in a variety of sizes, but I like this big bottle because I use a lot of it. You can find this one on the Deckwart website. It has a glitter in various sizes already mixed into the varnish. It works so well. And it dries fairly quickly. I do love that it dries fairly quickly. So we have this fabulous varnish. There's also a product called Starlight, which is Deanna. Yes, I'm still shipping through Canada Post, also through UPS and Purolator. So we make sure that the most effective way to get it to you. So while those are drying, we're going to finish the gold trims and whatnot on his uniform. I love this part. Lucy, have a great weekend. So I'm picking up a little bit of orange flame on my 3/8. Hi, Cheryl. And Lynn Heek. So orange flame on the brush. We're going to put a float on each end of the epaulette, like so. And the same here. And the same on the edges of the hat. Now the hat, I'm going to pull that color out a little bit. I'm going to walk that float out. And I want it to have a little bit of yellow in the middle. So what can you substitute for orange flame? Bright orange will work just fine. If you don't have orange flame, bright orange will work perfectly. So we want to leave an open space in the center. Like that. It just helps create the look of gold. And I put a float like so. Look at that. I'm going to do the same thing to all of the trim on the coat. Just like that. Just helps give that all of that trim the look of gold without actually using a metallic. There we go. And don't forget the belt buckle. We're going to put, I know he does look frosty, doesn't he? I'm going to put a float of that orange at the top and keep the bottom. Pretty cool, huh? A little bit into the corner here. Just like that. Oops. There we go. Marvelous. Now for the tassel, there is a gold tassel right at the shoulders underneath those epaulettes. We're going to put that in. First we're going to stroke Baby Duck. I'm coming down about 1/4 of an inch or so. There we are. Doesn't have to be all that uniform, really. Just like that. So I've got the yellow on. They're imperfect. That's fine. Da, da, da. And then you're going to fill that in by picking up a little bit of that orange flame and just fill in the space in between. So we've got tassel. Hi, Elaine. I'm glad you like him. I like him. I think he's kind of cute. So we're going to pick up a little bit of warm white or titanium white. Either one will work. We're just going to use a little bit of it anyway. And we're going to put a highlight in the center between. So it's just a fine line in between the orange over the yellow. Just a little. So that gives you that nice highlight, brightens it up, and helps give you that metallic look, or the look of gold anyway. Ooh. And it's fine lines. We don't want a harsh thing, and you don't want to bury all the yellow either. So it's just a fine line. And do the same thing to the buckle. And then you're going to do the same thing to the tassels on the epaulettes. Just bring in a fine stroke of that white just to help brighten it. Easy. Now we have buttons. I'm going to get a smaller angled shader. I rarely use a 1/4 inch angled shader, but I'm going to use it today. Just because I have little buttons to shade. These ones, those yellow dip dots that we put on the coat. So I'm going to put a little float of that orange flame on the right side of each button, like so. And then I'm going to use a little dot of either titanium white or warm white on the upper left of each button. There we go. How cute. Now I'm going to thin out a little bit of lamp black because we're going to connect the buttons with a nice loop like so. Nice fine line to connect the buttons. And you can do that any way you like. The little details are what make this so much fun. And I'm going to put, whoops, too much water in my brush. Let's try that again. There's a little highlight on the hands. And I'm going to add a few more little strokes to the beard because I can. I just love how that looks. So we've got all of that gold done. Now I'm going to come back to my baby duck, that yellow that we're using, and I'm going to thin it out quite a bit. I want it to come off the brush quite loosely. And we're going to put in the garland. And I'm going to start on this side of the hands and put in a nice sweeping, just like that. It's a nice U shape on the leg. And then we're going to continue to add a little bit. I like those loose and airy lines that sort of overlap each other. It just gives this a really nice look. And you can do it 2 or 3 times. Just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Just, throw a little in there. And then we're going to let that dry. There we go. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. I love this stuff. This is always so fun. So our little snowflake is dry now. So I'm going to grab my angled shader. Where did I put it? Get my brush out of the water here. Where did my 3/8 go? Honestly. Oh, there it is. Jeez, if it had teeth, it'd bite me. So I'm going to add a little float to the outside edge of my snowflake with a little Bahama blue just at the points of the snowflake. Just like that. It just keeps this looking nice and cool. Having that little touch of blue out just at the points. And it doesn't have to be a really strong float either. It's just a little color. It just keeps this looking nice and cool. Hi, Judy and Brenda Sawyer. Nice to see you. I love all the little details. That's the fun part of this. So dry that. And then I'm going to grab my little filbert and I'm going to dab. I like dabbing this on because then you keep all the glitter. If you brush it, it tends to pull and then you have less glitter. So I like dabbing it on. I like the texture it creates too. So there we go. So dry that. This is just such a fun piece to do. Now we're going to finish up the mouth a little bit. Oh, so cute. So cute. I'm going to grab my rigger if I can find it. I don't know how I lose things on this tabletop. So I'm going to finish up the mouth a little. I'm going to use a little titanium white. There we go. Good heavens. I like the toothy grin. There we are. Oh, he's looking so good. So I've got a gold paint pen. And I like the little bit of bling. So I like to add a little bit of gold in there. So you can use your gold paint pen to put in a little bling. And just, you know, move it around inside all of that. So I'm going to dry it and then we're going to add the final little details to this. And one of which is to add this little line here. Just so that we have a there we go. I like that little line of white. It is a cheesy grin. I like it. So we're going to use that black gel pen. I like my black gel pen just to separate things. Add a few little details. Little bits to the hair, little bits to the beard. You know, to the mustache. Just little fine little lines just to detail things a little bit. And the same with the teeth. I'm going to put that black line across the middle to separate the teeth. I like the little lines down the middle. I find that that little bit of ink just helps solidify things a little. They don't have to be straight. They can be squiggly. They don't have to be clean. I just like that little fine line. Just that sketchiness just adds a little something. I like sketchy lines. Just helps detail things a little bit without being heavy-handed. I find using the brush to do this often makes things look a little chunky, and I prefer things to look a little softer. And so this detail, although it hardens the edge a little bit, it doesn't make things look blocky or chunky. And I like it. So all of those fun little things can be done. And then before you varnish, make sure you remove your graphite lines. Take your little your black eraser. I like my black eraser because it's kind to all of those darker colors to remove all your graphite. Wherever it's showing, there's a little bit showing here and there. And it comes off fairly easy, but I like the black eraser because it doesn't damage the paint. You don't end up removing what you've done. You don't end up damaging or polishing the paint behind it, which is important, especially when you're doing all of this. So I've got my favorite craft glue. This one right here, the Art Glitter Designer Craft Glue. I love this stuff.
Ew, glitter.
Ew, glitter. You'll be happy to know it's not the type that gets everywhere.
My beard still itches.
Yeah, poor baby. So, little bit of the craft glue on the, oh goodness, I got more than I needed. So I'll just smear some on my other snowman. And we're just going to arrange our little snowman like so. So he's attached to that garland. Just like that. And our snowflake.
Give him a gold tooth.
That's not a bad idea.
TJ Smith.
Where's my gold paint pen? Here we go. There, he's got a gold tooth. I could give him a grill. So we've got a pretty little snowflake, lots of glitter on his hat. Got our 3 little snowmen down here. Everybody's saying hi. There you go, TJ. He's got a gold tooth. He may need braces. So we're going to give this a spatter. Where is my... I was looking for my fugly brush. So I'm going to use a little bit of titanium white to spatter him with. Because I like spatter. And I think it just adds something nice to this. Here we go. A little bit of spatter with some thinned titanium white. And then we're going to add a few icicles to the top just by drawing that brush down like so. So just a little thinned white. And I'm going to dry that really well, and then we're going to use the liner brush to put in a few simple icicles. And make sure everything's good and dry so I'm not smearing. And I like to bring in a few little icicles, some brighter ones, some shorter ones, just like that.
Oop, that one's falling.
It is. There we go. So a few of those. They like the gold tooth. Now, if you want to, you can absolutely use some of that that varnish up here if you wanted to add a little glitter. I like adding a little bit to his coat. It dries matte, so you can put a little bit in there. I love this look. So don't be afraid to add a little of that glitter varnish wherever you want it. And there we go. Look how fun he is. So you've got a little bit of glitter on there, that little shimmer. I love the gold tooth. Brilliant idea, TJ. And Pat, you can go to the website at tracymoreau.net. We have the surfaces and the patterns available there. Now, I like edging mine So I'm going to take my gold pen and right onto the edge. I like that little gold border. I find it just finishes things nicely. Gold paint pen, et voila. So if you're doing craft fairs and whatnot, this is a great way to finish the edges on ornaments and decorations. Just using a gold paint pen to give you a nice crisp border all the way around. And there you have it. Snowmen and Nutcrackers. There you go. Fun piece to paint. Must be, I've painted him 3 times so far. 4, sorry. Renee just put his fingers up. Nope, sorry, 4. Okay. There we go. So Renee's got the wheel all ready. I'm going to, it's prize time. This one just turned out so stinking cute. I love this little guy. I love the snowman. So fun. So how many names are, holy smoke, that wheel looks tight today. Well, there's 169 of you on that wheel today. What color would I use for the back? I like to paint mine black. This gold tooth shows up so well. Isn't that cute? I love it. I think it's adorable.
Well, all the others got like a nice, perfect smile.
Yep, his was a little wonky, so we put a gold tooth in. It's all good. All right, Renee's got the wheel loaded up, so he is going to spin to see who our first giveaway goes to. So we have a kindness theme, a Be Kind theme for our giveaways today. So lots of bee-related things. So it's a great one. And Karen Knowles is our first winner. Just to let you know, if your name gets called off the wheel, head over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information, please, so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible.
Ran out of air.
I did. I'm a little wheezy today. Love the whole series. I love these. They're so much fun.
Number 2.
Number 2 goes to... That wheel is crowded today.
Karen knows who's getting the bee happy.
Karen Knox. Boys, lots of names on here I haven't seen before.
I've seen Karen Knox before.
Yeah, I've seen the name, yes.
Seen it in the chat. Okay, that's too many Karens in a row there. And one more.
One more.
Bring on the third Karen.
That would be funny. Peg Brandewy.
Tom and Peg.
Tom and Peg. So next Saturday, we're doing a bee-themed piece to go along with our Be Kind theme. We're working up to our RAK project soon. So next Saturday, be ready. We're going to be painting some fun things involving bees. And then we also have a really cute giveaway for next week too. So again, with the Be Kind theme. So as I said, anybody, if your name popped up on the wheel, please head over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible.
Here we go.
I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. Remember, I've got 2 more of these nutcrackers coming up in the next few weeks, so this one is our little snowmen and nutcrackers, and we still have peppermints and nutcrackers to go, and candy canes and nutcrackers to go. So lots of fun coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here with me live again next week at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can join us live on YouTube, on my Tracy Moreau design page, or you can join us on the Tracy Moreau live page on Facebook. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Mwah. We love you. Stay safe.
Yeah, and pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
You have to pet the dog.
Yes. Well, they demand it otherwise.
Yeah. Aggressive cuddles.
Aggressive cuddles.